Even at that age, even at 20 years old, I think, if your parents pass on and it's an inter-religious marriage, I think you will be in a conflicted position. My mother passed on, what do I do? You are the waris, what are you going to do? Are you going to bury? Or you akan dengar kata the other side of the family where she will have to be cremated.
How did you decide to have a civil marriage?
Thank God we're in Singapore. So we know that we can have a civil marriage. There was no persuasion of me having to convert to Hinduism. In that sense, he was pretty open about it. So we agreed on the civil marriage.
Pertama sekali, we have to understand dalam Singapore, perkahwinan sivil dan perkahwinan ROMM tentu sekali ada bezanya. And the first step to perbezaan bila kita nak register the marriage is dari pihak ROMM untuk pihak isteri. Wali atau wali hakim harus ada. Tapi dari segi Islam, kalau kita ingin mendirikan rumah tangga under ROMM, pertama kali kedua-dua pihak isteri dan pihak suami harus profess the Muslim religion lah. They have to be Muslims. If they are not Muslim, they cannot go through the religious rites under ROMM. That's one. Then the other thing is dari pihak ROMM pun mereka tentu sekali ada interview juga sebelum kita register untuk pernikahan.
We had a fantastic solemnizer. As an old lady, 60-year-old lady.
She actually wanted to interview us before she agreed to becoming our solemnizer. So she actually called us out for a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
And then she sat down and she spoke to us. She did ask, me coming from Hindu, she coming from Muslim, would there be any interest or conflict and all that?
No, because very important is who's going to witness the family. So when she realized that my mom and dad and his mom and dad were there, it was all clear.
Jadi, not only is the proses nak nikah tu atau solemnization berbeza. Apa yang kita perlu tahu ialah apabila kita bernikah di bawah ROMM, our marriage, kalau ada apa-apa yang berlaku in the future, perceraian, it will be governed under a different sets of laws altogether, which is the Administration of Muslim Law Act. Tapi kalau kita bernikah di civil marriage, apa yang berlaku ialah kalau ada apa-apa masalah dan kalau ada perceraian itu harus di brought to family court dan apa yang governing laws untuk civil marriage ialah Women's Charter dan bukan Administration of Muslim Law Act. Kalau in family court, there are inter-religious marriage. When the court decide siapa ada custody, can control atau hak penjagaan anak-anak, the court takkan lihat yang your wife is a Muslim, the husband's a Buddhist or a Hindu, and then I will give it to the wife or I will give it to the husband. Religion is not an issue in there. But in the Sharia court, the court may look at it as if the wife or the husband is a convert, let's say, and dia minta hak penjagaan anak-anak, one of the factors that the court will consider is as a matter of the well-being of the anak-anak, will the parent yang who's a convert be able to provide the religious upbringing or the religious education that a Muslim child should get growing up. So this is something that we will have to consider when we want to pursue a direction. For example, if your partner is a non-Muslim, if you want to, of course, nobody gets into the marriage thinking that, I'm going to get a divorce one day. Where should I go? But I mean, these things do happen. And when it happens, where you choose to land your marriage in the first place, ROMM atau ROM, may have repercussions later on.
So how did your family take it when you decided to have a civil marriage? Did they say anything, maybe your relatives?
My uncles, aunties, so of course they didn't say to me, but I think everything, my poor mother, they didn't call to ask her question. They called to scold her. It's like, how can this happen? How could you do this? What have you done? So, this kind of very vulgar words, very wrongly words were used. So actually, of course, it do affect me.
kadang-kadang sadly because of this issue, it's brought to court and mereka bercerai kerana terlalu banyak campur tangan daripada ahli keluarga yang lain-lain. And sometimes it makes me wonder lah, although I've never really posed this question to my clients, it makes me wonder, jikalau both of you are from the same religion, whether both Muslims or both non-Muslims, would this have happened? Or would you be stronger because then there's one issue off? Because as we know, in a marriage, there's bound to be conflicts, any types of conflicts. But if this is one issue, the issue of religion, if this is one issue yang kita boleh tick off, there's no issue because both of you are professing the same religion, would it have made it easier for, because mungkin takkan ada campur tangan daripada orang-orang ketiga seperti uncles, aunties and so on and so forth. Tapi in situations as this, the conflict I would say is even usually elevated. Sebab there is always the element of when nasi dah jadi bubur, they will say, I told you so right from the start. The conflict is a bit elevated lah, I would say, because it usually involves family members and kadang-kadang parents are the ones who will say they rasa malu lah.
Basically, it's just my uncle. He has always been the very staunch, the religious person in the family. He's gone to Umrah, Hajj, and after they go there and when they come back, they think that they are the high priest. Okay, so it's like when it comes to family things, they are like, everything is them. Sometimes they think that they are God, So there were times that he actually even mentioned from Quran words. It's like haram, I shouldn't get married. It's like I'm extremely sin. I can get married, provided he has to convert.
Okay.
He cannot let go that I am giving up my religion. I'm not giving up my religion. My religion, I am still Islam up to this day. I have not given up my religion. Okay, to give up my religion is something that I have to truly tell myself and say, that's it. I'm done with Islam because I am born with that religion. If I have to give that up, there are certain things that's also sensitive to me. But it's a pity that he never understood that,
Did he give you a straight no, or he did advise you on certain things and then, discuss with you? Or it was just a straight no?
It has always been a no. And I always believe it's going to be a no because he has no answer for any of that comments that he gave. Because he really don't know what he was talking. So when he say it's a statement, it's like he was just condemning me. But he was never able to give me an answer or a proper nothing. Nobody gave any explanation. Nothing. Nobody said anything. Nobody sat down with me, explained what is the right, what is the wrong. Nothing. Nothing was said.
We actually had a sit down with my parents, and I told them that, getting married, it's not about the religion. I'm going to get married because, about how I feel for her and how she feels for me. So, even getting her to convert to Hinduism or asking her to, I'm against that. I will just leave her alone. If she wants to practice Islam, let her be.
Yeah, I think with the parents, it has always been, they have always been worried that he will convert.
It takes a lot of understanding on all the parts of the family members. Bukan sahaja pihak isteri, pihak suami atau their respective parents. I think antara isteri dan suami dan their parents is something that is easier to manage. Tapi it is the mindset of the people around them, terutama sekali relatives, uncles, aunties, grandmothers, grandfathers. Mindset ahli keluarga seperti inilah yang perhaps susah untuk manage. So I would say it is not easy to ketepikan conflict as such. There is bound to be conflict, but it's just, I think, an issue of how they can manage it in the future, or maybe they can make use of portals like counselling and all that, so that they know that whatever, this is their marriage, apa-apa yang mereka dengar tu semua, maybe just push it aside. Ambil whatever that is good, but maybe if it's not so good for their marriage, if they betul nak keep or stay in this marriage, then they will have to make the effort lah.
Bila nanti perceraian terjadi, kan banyak masalah ni.
Berarti kalau kahwin civil ni, kalau dah kahwin, nanti anak dia nak kena pilih antara satu tau. Itu yang nanti belakang hari susah. Anaknya yang jadi mangsa.
The difficulty is that kalau dia tak ada wasiat, husband dia atau anak-anak dia tidak boleh mewarisi apa yang dia ada secara automatik kerana mereka tidak dianggap waris-waris faraid. Jadi that is the most telling thing that I see, and for those who have actually kahwin civil and they want to do estate planning or wealth planning, most of them come to us and the consequence is that the outcome selalunya they renounce their religion altogether after they find out the truth, or they will do a wasiat, then they give 1/3 kepada ahli keluarga mereka seperti their husband and their children who are non-Muslim. Then daripada 2/3 tu, they know it will still be given to their parents atau adik-beradik yang masih Muslim. We have come across a few, diorang dah kahwin secara civil. Tetapi along the way, mereka nak nikah semula under Islamic laws. We have seen that kind of couple before. We have also seen the family that came to us and say husband is a Muslim, wife is a free thinker lah, basically not a Muslim, and all the kids are free thinkers. So that we sat down with them for actually quite a few times, and I think at one point in time the husband made the decision that okay, since my kids cannot dapat ini secara automatic and all that, my assets and all that from different countries, because he has a lot of assets, he said, you know what, I'm just gonna leave the religion. So we also have seen couple who leave the religion, as in they are still married under Islamic laws, but because one or both of them want to totally renounce the faith, so they cannot remain married under Islamic laws already, so they renounce their faith and then they went to marry under civil laws. So we have seen all these things. Of course, those that are from the civil side walking into the Islamic side and vice versa. We have seen interreligious marriage where perceraian berlaku di family court, and maybe one party, the mother is a Muslim, the father is a Buddhist, let's say. So the father will say things like, I tak nak my anak, kalau my anak is with the mother, my worry is that nanti datuk je, nenek je akan force you to pray, force you to become a Muslim and all that, but I think my children should be Buddhist. And likewise, the mother will say, if I let my children stay with the father, it has happened before. My children pernah ikut their grandparents pergi temple, and I don't want that to happen. So this is salah satu perkara yang tak boleh dielakkan, because if you are going to expose both your children to both sets of grandparents, paternal and maternal, then inevitably grandparents akan solat kat rumah, atau if they are non-Muslim, they will bring the children, sometimes they go to church or they go to the temple. So these things are things that the kids see, and if the kids stay with the grandparents for a long time or visit them for a long time, these are things that they pick up and they see. So there will be, I would say, there will be some element of confusion there for a young child maybe. As they grow older, maybe teenagers, it will be more of, they'll be influenced more by what their friends are doing. So if they see that, okay, my friends are going to the mosque to pray, my nenek and datuk also do that, so maybe they may be more inclined towards that. But if they are friends who are like, hey, my friend goes to church on Sundays, and my grandparents do that, they've brought me to church before, so I'm going to go with that. So while I would say the confusion may not be glaring to a child, because sometimes children can hide, they don't want their parents to see the conflict that they have within themselves.
So were you aware of the differences between marrying through the Islamic law and also the civil law?
No.
So with the religious considerations involved, what are your plans for the future? And yeah, I mean, this is a very sensitive one, and maybe for the funeral in time to come.
It's something that has always been at the back of my mind. You know, because Islam, you have to be buried, which I don't want. But then, when you talk about the religion, bottom line, I didn't convert one. So eventually, there will be a big thing. So I have to get it sorted out.
I guess we leave it to the kids to decide.
Is there any particular reason why you don't want to be buried?
You see, as long you're alive, you have the respect, finish it off, that's it. Don't expect them to come and visit you, all this. Show respect, love me while I'm alive. Once I'm dead, no, I'm also in another world. We are both the same. Just burn, finish.
But I would say there would be some level of confusion for the children. So this, in effect, one day, let's say, if their parents pass on, the funeral rites. As you know, dari segi Islam, funeral rites kita is to have burial, dikebumikan, but maybe other religion have cremation and whatnot. So this will be something that they will also observe, and they probably think, okay, then what do I do? And the difficulty, I think, will be when, for example, if the parents live at an age where the children are very young, maybe the oldest is like 18, 17, even at that age, even at 20 years old, I think, if your parents pass on and it's an inter-religious marriage, I think you will be in a conflicted position. My mother passed on, what do I do? Then naturally you will ask your grandparents. Grandparents say, your mother is a Muslim, let's have her buried. If your father, your father is not, let's have him cremated. So they may not have the maturity to understand what is needed to be done. And it's a very delicate issue. So that's why I would say, as much as kita parents to let their children choose whatever that they want to choose in accordance with their own lifestyle, but I think there are certain issues like death that they need to think of, what they want their children to do, because if it's not clearly stated to the children what they want the children to do for them, it will come to a situation where the anak-anak will not know what to do also, especially if they're very young. If this, and they rightly said tadi, they will leave it to the children, then it may put the children in a spot lah, especially where, because if you see, if let's say mak dah tak ada, maybe their father passed away quite some time back, all eyes will be on their children pula. Like, okay, what are you going to do now? What is you are the waris, what are you going to do? Are you going to bury? Or you akan dengar kata the other side of the family where she will have to be cremated. In this kind of situation, I would say there are no laws governing apa or who has the right, because when somebody passes on, usually they will, the nearest, for example, if it's a wife, the authorities will look for the husband. If it's a husband, the authorities will look for the wife. Maybe if orang yang belum berumah tangga, then they will look for the parents.
Well, I think up to today, I never give up on the faith. It's still in me, but I'm accepting and I'm just believing and accepting all religion. That's all I'm saying.
Have you ever, found out the processes that you have to go through in one, if you were to ever fall out from the religion? Like I heard, maybe you have to go through some counseling.
Counseling, yes. When we were about to get ROM, I actually called up and find out if I ever were to give up my religion, I have to go through 3 weeks counseling. If I'm not wrong, then I've got to make some kind of payment. And this I did tell the officer, it's ridiculous, Religion was not given by you, It was given by my family, And I have to pay and then I have to go counseling. So that is something I can never accept it.
If you're still registered as a Muslim in Singapore, of course, there will be legal repercussions in terms of marriage, in terms of perceraian, in terms of kematian, then maybe even basic things macam kalau orang yang employed, they every month their monthly salary will be deducted, a certain portion will be given to the mosque building fund. So if you're no longer a Muslim, or registered not as a Muslim, you probably don't have to pay this anymore. But of course, then other things may arise lah. So long as it doesn't transcend into a crime or anything against the religion or the state, I do not think that the authorities will be in touch with that person who wants to renounce just because he or she wants to renounce. So for example, at the very least, I think what they will go through is they'll probably go through rounds of counseling. Maybe like what she said, 3 weeks is a long time. So maybe that's how they actually try to get to the root of the problem. But of course, if let's say we have, this is really hypothetical, if we have a person yang dah renounce religion Islam and then ask a lot of people or put hate comments in the media or do some sort of strike and say, you know what, if you're a Muslim, just leave the religion or have an unlawful assembly somewhere in Singapore. But in this situation where I think the individual is just trying to profess or trying to have his or her own freedom of what I want to do in terms of my religion, as long as it doesn't transcend into any form of wrongdoing in terms of a crime, I do not think that the authorities will be in touch with him or her lah.
I don't want to dismiss any, but it's just that if you fall in love with someone, don't look at any religion. Fall in love with that person for whom that person is. Because marriage is not going to be your religion that's going to last that marriage. It's both of the men and the women. And of course, future the children. It's never the religion, nothing. So, like I said, I cut your blood, you cut my blood. It's all right. So, it's respect about individual human being. Give respect, take respect. That's all.
I'm actually following what she says. I strongly still believe in connection with humans. Humanity is more important to me than religion.
Yes.
I guess for first and foremost is getting to understand the person that you're gonna tie the knot with, and then you're gonna. I guess the sad part about Singaporeans is that we don't get to stay with our partners as often as we want to, because we are still bounded to our own family
Cultures.
So after we get married, then we find a house, then we start staying together.
That's
then
when
we
you
pick up on the bad habits and everything. And then we get into arguments, quarrels.
culture
and
shock comes in.
So I think in that sense, we have to come out from there. Other than that, I think communication is the key.
In this issue, when I answer this, I think I have to say that this is solely my personal views lah. It's not the view of lawyers in the industry, or I'm definitely not an asatizan. But these are my personal views. So understanding the religion itself may be difficult for somebody who's born and bred a Muslim. What more a convert? But we must understand, and I must stress that one of the ways we must understand is that there are always doors open for us to be able to find ways to seek help or to seek understanding of what that we are not sure of. I think at the end of the day, under the laws of Singapore, every person has a right to profess or to practice his or her own religion. So in that sense, I think we as a nation, or rather Singapore itself, there is no restrictions against what you can or cannot profess. As long as you want to profess your religion, it's up there, it's your right. In terms of freedom of religion and faith, I may not be the best person to dispense any advice lah. But from a lawyer's perspective, I would say, although we recognize in Singapore that there is freedom of religion, it's our constitutional right, but I think at the end of the day, whether you nak go through an Islamic marriage or a civil marriage, you really have to sit down, think it through, and weigh the pros and cons. And if whatever you face in the future is something, or the difficulties is something that you think can overcome whatever freedom that you want now, then go ahead. But if you think that, if you are skeptical atau you was-was, then I think maybe it's really you need to take 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 steps back to see whether it is something that is feasible moving forward. Because if let's say ada perceraian, it is not only the couple's lives that are disrupted. It will probably be the lives of the children, if there are children to the marriage as well, and maybe ahli keluarga yang lain yang probably have been affected by this marriage in the first place.